I remember the day, 14th of December, when their bill came and it was 0. For 2 days, my mom-in-law sponsor, just pampered the hell out of me. अरे bill 0 आ रहा है आज से ना हमेशा bill 0 आएगा.
33% of our revenues, monthly orders, actually comes from word of mouth referrals. So your initial investment breaks even in 5 years and you enjoy 25 years of free electricity. Customer service first, growth second. This is a design choice that we were wanting to make. And you were comfortable with that design choice. In fact, you asked us to double down on that design choice. That when it is a new category, you can't market your way through trust. We were the first ones to give 5 years of after sales to a residential consumer. There was rampant mis-selling. Where the consumer was sold, बस सर बढ़िया है तो चलता है, मेंटेनेंस तो जरूरत ही नहीं है, right, for solar. और लगे तो आप पानी मार लीजिएगा, right, पैनल को थोड़ा धो लीजिएगा.
When you decided to pivot, you were running a successful bootstrapped large-scale B2B solar company, right? How would you advise entrepreneurs who are navigating such a journey?
All good, sir.
चालू करें? Welcome to the Day One podcast at Elevation, where we chronicle the early journeys of startups that we've partnered with at Elevation. Today with us, we have Shreya and Neeraj, who are the co-founders at SolarSquare. SolarSquare is India's leading residential rooftop solar brand, which enables individuals to solarize their homes or housing societies through their full stack approach, where they manage everything from sales to installation to maintenance and after sales. SolarSquare, across their past 3 years now, has helped 10,000 homes solarize and 100 housing societies adopt solar, thus enabling every individual to save annually 40,000 rupees through electricity savings, and also helped offset 4 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions annually. Thank you, Shreya and Neeraj, for being on the podcast. Actually, we would love to understand a bit about the genesis of SolarSquare, right? What was the idea initially? How did it all get started? Why residential rooftop? And maybe we would love to understand each of your personal journeys and intentions as you went behind this venture.
Right. Thanks a lot for having us here, Manish. I think our journey into residential solar was pretty serendipitous. If 4 years back you told us we will be a focused residential solar brand, let alone that we'll be number one in India, we would haven't, even imagined. And I think a lot of serendipity led us to residential solar. You hustle hard enough and long enough, and somewhere along the line, serendipity happens, and residential solar was that serendipity for us. So SolarSquare started in 2015 as a B2B rooftop solar company. Neeraj and Nikhil are the original founders. In 2015, I was running a fashion tech startup, more about that maybe later. And somehow in 2020, we came together and we started just experimenting with residential solar more as a business vertical. We were fully focused on helping large corporates, Fortune 500 companies switch to solar. And in 2020, we just started experimenting with residential solar and realized there's this massive opportunity. Many families want to switch to solar, but they just don't find the right company, the right, that they can trust. When a middle class family switches to solar, they're spending anywhere between 2 to 3 lakh rupees. Which is a high ticket size. And India traditionally is a trust deficit country, right? So there was no professional brand which was helping homes switch to solar. There was no professional brand which was truly solving for the consumer pain point. So we started experimenting this like a business vertical, very quickly realized this is a massive opportunity to create a professional company in this space. Nobody else was doing it. And so, we decided to pivot and become a full stack residential solar brand. And we are 3 years into the pivot. And, like you shared, we've now helped 10,000 homes and 100 plus housing societies switch to solar. But more from Neeraj. I mean, he's the original founder of SolarSquare. I joined the journey midway, and honored to be now one of the co-founders in the residential solar journey.
No, absolutely. And Neeraj would actually love to understand, you've been a solar entrepreneur for the last decade now, right? So would love to understand, how have you seen that transition happen from utility to commercial to residential? And when you decided to pivot, you were running a successful bootstrapped large-scale B2B solar company, right? So what went on in your mind, and how would you advise entrepreneurs who are navigating such a journey about a decision?
So I think tough to capture those 10 years in a brief line. But I jumped into the industry. I spent about like 6 odd months traveling the country and trying to figure out what is the niche that I will chase in this energy transition, and realized what I'm not good at. And I tried following the residential solar business back in 2013. Realized after a year the timing is not right. The opportunity is great, but it's not at that point in time. So Nikhil and I, we stuck it out for 6 years. We said we'll earn our cred in the solar industry, be it on a technical front, be it about running a business, about hiring people. And every year we would keep our eye out that is this the time for residential solar. And the reason for that was very simple, that in every country, continent, the largest market is the residential solar market. But the market starts from the utility scale, where the government seeds the concept in the country, then industries start going solar, and then the smallest ticket side customer starts going solar. And around 2019, we really felt that a lot of ducks were aligning from the demand side, supply side, policy side, economics, global macro supporting that. And business utna bada nahi tha. It was a bootstrap business, was profitable every year. But I think what we can do with the residential side, जितना बड़ा कर सकते हैं, जितना impact ला सकते हैं, वो impact possible नहीं था in the bootstrap setup. Just to give a very simple example, we were among the top 3, top 5 companies for industries to go solar. But if you were to replace SolarSquare with the next 5 guys, customer पे उतना impact नहीं था. And we were not taking a new segment of customers solar. The customer would anyways have gone solar without us. Neither commercially or emotionally was that an appealing thing. So I think what we can truly say is, in residential solar, we are taking a new segment of customers solar, and huge opportunity hai. And yeah, I think emotional is very satisfying that without us, these customers wouldn't have opted for clean energy. So yeah.
No, makes sense. And for a lot of our viewers and potential customers who might be watching us and learning about residential solar for the first time, would actually love to double click a bit on what is the residential solar opportunity, right? When you implant a rooftop solar unit on the top of your home, what is the benefit, and how does the math work towards realization of these savings?
Right. So I think the economic case of solar for a homeowner is very strong. It's pretty much a no-brainer. If you put up a system on your home, let's say you invest 2.5 lakh rupees, you buy a 3.5 kilowatt rooftop solar system, you save against that initial investment of 2 lakh rupees, you will save close to 40,000 rupees every year for the next 25 years. Because rooftop solar, once installed, it gives you free electricity for 25 years. So your initial investment breaks even in 5 years and you enjoy 25 years of free electricity. If we simply make it very easy for an Indian consumer to understand, this return on investment profile, this initial investment and monthly saving, it ends up becoming more than 20% IRR. Now, India is a fixed deposit country. Our parents, they put up their money in, 7.5% fixed deposit. So imagine putting up solar and actually, in a way, having a fixed deposit that gives you more than 20%. Of course, the economic case was very strong, and the economics actually tipped from 2015 to 20. The prices of solar transitioned in such a way that this break-even came down from 8-9 years to 5 years or lesser, right? And for a consumer category, I think 5 years or less break-even is like really the tipping point. So the economic case was great. Homes were still not going solar in 2019-20 to that large an extent. I think Indian market is still quite under-penetrated. The main problem there was that once the economics lines up, you need enough understanding and enough trust. When you say, okay, I'm going to give this company 2 lakh rupees and I'm deciding to make my own electricity, right? Every homeowner who goes solar is a first time buyer. In the history of mankind, we bought cars, we bought electronics, we buy houses. We've never bought a power plant for ourselves, right? So for many families, it can be a little overwhelming. And that's where, we found the space that the economic case is great. The policy environment is enabling, supportive. But families still need a lot of hand-holding to switch to solar. And while the economics is great, you have to buy the right quality and the right service provider and the right after-sales. Otherwise, instead of being a great financial investment, this could actually be a huge financial drain. you make this investment and your solar doesn't work, or it doesn't give you the rated savings, or it has breakdowns, it has regular repair costs. All of that anxiety a first time buyer has. So for this to be a great investment, you have to actually buy the right product and from the right company. And I believe that's where SolarSquare came in. And I do believe that and I say this with all humility, that I do believe we are helping with the residential solar transition in India. And I think the market size before and after the simplification we bought in for the end consumer, I think we do have some impact on the market size of this category. And I think that I say that with all humility. It's just been 3 years, we have a long way to go. But I think solving for those real consumer pain points and that anxiety of a first-time buyer, that's what we are here for.
No, sure. And double-clicking a bit on the pain points, can you talk through the customer's journey who's, let's say, looking to solarize his or her home for the first time? Where does it start? What are the steps that the customer has to take, and where does it break today?
Right. So like I said, these are first time buyers. It starts from one saying, हाँ solar सही है, मेरे colony में किसी ने लगाया है, he's getting zero electricity bills. There's a vague idea that this is a good investment, but that's all people know. So the journey of a consumer starts by first asking कि solar सही है, मेरे लिए सही solar क्या है? How much capacity of solar do I need? 3 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt? Can it power my entire home? How does it work? What is on-grid solar, off-grid solar? So there are like a bunch of questions that a first-time buyer has. So the consumer's journey starts with a solar consultation with SolarSquare, where we have on our own rolls now close to 80 solar consultants. These are trained by us, who basically, as the name describes, they are consulting a family on their solar requirements. So the first job is to really help them understand what do they need and answer all of their questions. Then comes the question of selling something to them, right? The first is the consultation, that what do you need? What is the right solar solution for you? And then why SolarSquare, and what is the price and all of that, right? So it starts with a solar consultation. Once a consumer books solar with us, we take care of everything, right? What we mean by a full stack brand is that we will procure the equipment, we will design his solar, we will install it. We have prefabricated solar, solar installation pergolas. These are, developed over years by SolarSquare. That basically, these are, we call them the Wind Pro mounts. What we do is, when we help a home switch to solar, we all love our roof. It's a social real estate. We want to fly kites and exercise and dry our clothes on the roof. So nobody wants to let go of their roof space for solar. So the first thing, that consumer pain we realized was that they want raised, elevated solar structures. So it's not just an electrical solution. It's also fairly civil and mechanical work is involved here. And there was a lot of poor quality solar installations happening. Imagine a gazebo, a solar pergola on top of your roof. The higher you go, the more is the wind pressure, right? These were fairly unsafe installations that, were happening in the unorganized market. Families didn't know that they were putting, sort of their families at risk, because this whole thing could fly off the roof or crash during a heavy wind. And, India is facing a lot of cyclones of late. So we created our own flagship pre-engineered solar pergolas or gazebos. These are approved by IIT Bombay to be cyclone proof. They can handle up to 170 kilometers per hour wind speed. They are rust proof. They come with a 10-year warranty, etc., etc. But what they also do is that they are ready to install, like in IKEA. So they get installed in as little as 6 hours. And our trained crew will go to the consumer's home. 9 a.m. we are in. By afternoon, we are out. All the entire solar, the civil work, the panels, electrical connections, everything is done. So that was also a big comforting factor for the consumers, because, today we order on Amazon, we get a refrigerator the next day. We get our air conditioner the next day, right? So we wanted to make it super simple for the actual installation for the consumer. So that's, one of the innovations we did. We also take care of all the government permits, very much like a car, like you need a road permit. To put up a solar plant, you need a lot of solar permits. We take care of all of that end to end. And the last straw, which we have, been solving for the last 2 years, is that while the economic case of solar is great, to arrange 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees upfront is usually difficult for, for everybody. Nobody wants to put up that kind of cash upfront, especially for middle class families. So we also enabled financing for this consumer. So that's what we mean by full stack. This is the journey of the consumer from the consultation to getting his permits, installation, all of that, financing, all of that done. Then comes the most important part, right? You are not buying solar panels or a solar system. You're buying 25 years of free electricity, right? And that free electricity comes through thorough maintenance and after-sales service. India is a very dusty country, so these panels require regular maintenance. So that is also what SolarSquare does. So that's the entire journey for a consumer once they switch to solar.
No, this is super helpful. And quite consciously, it seems that you have chosen to go and do each and every part of the chain yourself, right? Rather than depending on either franchisee partners or external vendors to help you do it. And in this era of marketplaces and asset-light models, this is contrary to what you would expect, right? So would love to understand what went behind taking this conscious call of doing everything yourself and running it as a full stack business rather than partnering with other franchisee partners or just relying on other vendors to do some parts of the entire chain.
Right. I remember in 2020-21, the maximum number of debates we would have was on this. And I would say, boss, like full stack, it'll be slow and let's go marketplace, let's go for solar financing, etc., etc. But I think, Neeraj has had spent 6-7 years in this industry by then. So I think he should answer it as to why we made the design choice of going full stack and, what we saw was the reality of the market and why this model was relevant.
So I'll split it in two parts. One is the sales side of things. Why do that full stack? And the other is on the operations and the service delivery. So there was nobody, there's no demand for residential solar. And before we dipped our feet into the segment, we just reached out to customers ourselves and बहुत ही अलग learning है. Like what we realized during the early days that there's a lot of latent demand, and the reason customers were not going solar and was they couldn't find a trustworthy company where a middle class family with a family income, annual income of 10 lakh rupees would make an investment of 2 lakh rupees that breaks even in 5 years and actually gives you savings over 25 years. That trust threshold, very few companies were able to cross, and it would not happen in a hands-off manner through franchisees, through agents. So we had to put our face out there that हम हैं जो आपको service provide कर रहे हैं. So that is how sales would get cracked initially. I'm sure 5 years out, when your neighbor on the left and the right has solar, it would be a lot easier for a new customer to opt for it. Not today, not for the next many years. That's on the sales side why we had to do it ourselves. And that's the case even today. So that is one part. And on the service delivery side, the same bit that like for a system to last 25 years, if I were to ask you, Manish, have you bought anything today which you believe will last you for 25 years? Apart from your home, you're going to say nothing else. So I think that is the core engineering problem, which is a solved for problem. When an industry buys solar, when the government opts for solar for large $100 million plants, but there is no segment like your plumbers, electricians are not professional in India today. That's not a regulated industry today. So if I were to give out my installation to a vendor partner, maybe I give out 90% of the equipment, all tested, great quality. But that 10% where he will compromise on nut bolts, instead of buying the best quality, they would swap locally. Now that 0.1% of the project cost is the thing that on your roof, when wind blows, your solar modules will vibrate and they will fall off on your roof, on your dog, on your child, on your car. And that is difficult to control in a marketplace, in an outsourced manner. A lot of companies actually opted for that. And so there are a lot of residential solar companies before us, but because they did not have the engineering or the operations jobs, they chose the marketplace way, asset-light manner. I wouldn't say they didn't want to do it. They couldn't have figured out how to go the hard yards of actually installing it ourselves. And I respect my third co-founder Nikhil for this. He's actually installed solar plants himself. Nobody can fool him, and he built that culture of great quality. And I think that is something that holds us in good stead, that our design choices from day one were built on scalability and being sure that sitting here today, my installation taking place in Lucknow will be of the same quality as what would get done in front of my eyes. So that is not possible today, training those many people and ensuring quality, repeatability of that quality. You can set up SOP, but how do you ensure the SOP is getting followed again and again? I really hope few years out, we are able to figure out how to work with channel partners, not because of our own growth, we can't fulfill India's demand ourselves. I hope that we are able to professionalize the segment. We are able to make installations easy, IKEA-like, Lego-like, that there are enough service providers who can fulfill India's demand. Doesn't matter हम कितना percentage market share लें, but it's important that the country goes solar.
Thanks, Neeraj. This is super helpful. Would love to understand a bit more on the trust gap that you mentioned in the mind of the consumer. As we all know, electricity consumption is only on the rise thanks to air conditioning and increasing climate change. And also electricity prices are on the rise because we largely continue to be dependent on coal for electricity production. And hence everyone, right, including me, we hate electricity bills which are rising annually. But how is it that this trust gap of trusting a new provider for a 25-year-old asset and a new model completely, right, where there are no references even in the neighborhood of the customer that you are adopting, how do you address this trust gap through our full stack model?
Right. I think there are a few parts to this answer. One is, just having a strong product, that speaks for itself. Right. So, for example, cyclone-proof solar installations. We do a water leakage guarantee that if we install solar on your roof, you don't have to. It's grouted on your roof. You don't have to worry about water leakage. We give you up to a 1 lakh coverage in case of any mishappening. That's how confident we are of our installation quality. So there are trust markers and promises like that. I think this is on the installation front. On the other front, there is a trust marker of after sales. We were the first ones to give 5 years of after sales to a residential consumer. Now you talk to any large corporate Fortune 500 company, when a Hindustan Unilever, when a JP Cement buys solar, they're all big buyers. They all know that when you buy solar, you have to buy maintenance. But when this Mr. Sharma in Lucknow goes solar, he's not aware. Like I said, solar sahi hai, but sahi solar kya hai? Right? Many people were not even aware of the importance of after sales. And I think that's where we came in and created education on the category, and then our brand promise that you will get 5 years of after sales guarantee from SolarSquare. And I think that was that education, that transparency, that we are here to educate, that you require maintenance. When a large part of the market, this is a fairly unorganized market, there was rampant mis-selling, where the consumer was sold, बस सर बढ़िया है तो चलता है, मेंटेनेंस तो जरूरत ही नहीं है, राइट, फॉर सोलर, और लगे तो आप पानी मार लीजिएगा, राइट, पैनल्स को थोड़ा धो लीजिएगा. There was mis-selling like that. Why wouldn't a Unilever wash their panels, right? Why are they buying professional maintenance? Because it was tough to do this maintenance on these tiny residential consumers, right? Like to have that kind of density. After sales for solar was a tough problem, right? And I would believe that we are equal parts of solar installation, brand, service, but our bigger job comes in the after sales, because like I said, the consumer is buying electricity savings, right? For that, installation and then years and years of maintenance is equally important. So I think that transparency, that education led to a lot of consumer trust. So I think that's the second thing. The third thing, Manish, is that when it is a new category, you can't market your way through trust. You can't buy trust. I think no amount of branding or marketing can help you win consumer trust. It has to be earned. It has to be earned every single day. And I think one of the things that's testimony to our trust is that 33% of our revenues, monthly orders, actually comes through word of mouth referrals. And I think that ends up being the biggest trust inducing factor. It is because when Sharma ji went solar, he told Mehta ji, SolarSquare se le lo, badhiya log hai, badhiya company hai, right? And I think that trust, that word of mouth and referrals has played a massive role in our growth and in our, in confidence that we are onto something right, that we have product market fit.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is buying a 2.5 lakh rupee product for 25 years based on an ad they saw on social media. I think it is those trust networks. I think, and I'll go one step further and make it, similar how it happens on the ground, right? How strategy turns into execution on that trust front. So first is your sales team needs to be convinced that their company will do everything to do right by the customer. When we started, even today, do we deliver the best service to all customers on day one? No, we make a lot of mistakes. But my sales guy can stand up for his company when he gets that escalated call. Sir, fix ho jayega, hum aa rahe hain, sorry. I think that is first step. Second, if I say, sir, nobody gives 5 years maintenance, I will do it. Okay, you made a promise. The customer still doesn't trust you. In the early days, I would get this call, sir, लिखा तो नहीं है आपके ऑफर में? सर, मैं लिख देता हूँ. पहले क्यों नहीं लिखा था? getting over those stages where the customer can actually trust it. Take your customer to your site. Tell him, say, "Dekhe, how did I actually achieve that comfort?" Now make it replicable, that you can't take all customers to your installation. Build on that. Get that conviction level in your sales team, within your customer. Go for referrals. Like from day one, we didn't want to grow that way by just spending our way to growth. The first metric we've always chased was referral kitna aata hai, because over time, like we truly care about people going solar. That means making solar more affordable and trustworthy. Affordability will not come by increasing my sales cost. It will come by word of mouth, knowing your customer. Nobody, even if the top celebrities are advertising my product, nobody is going to buy it in the long run unless until Sharma ji is saying good things to Mehta ji. So I think focusing on that, so that is the first she covered. I believe large part of our sales team is fidain bolte hai na, that they'll fight with the customer if they have to prove them wrong. I think that is the second part. And when you make those mistakes, seeing through that, and I think a large part of our team, they actually see through on that commitment. And you will make mistakes, a lot of mistakes, especially in the early days. Who expects a seed company, a Series A company to get everything right? Nobody does. Do you have the intent to follow through? And I'll just say very candidly, when Elevation was evaluating investing in us, I think all things on total addressable market and margins, everything gets answered. But are we following through on service or not? We went through 3 iterations with the Elevation team on what is your customer NPS. And it is only after that, and I think then we went through a 4th one, when both sides came together. Okay, this is the great thing to like partner upon. So I think that is most important. And one thing we keep saying within our team, customer service is not a department but the entire company. Now saying it is good, living through it year after year, I think that is how you end up earning that trust. So yeah, I think for us in our segment especially, middle class buyer, 2.5 lakh rupees of product value, I think that's the 4th largest purchase of their life. The trust threshold that we need to cross is of a Maruti, is of a Bajaj, is of a HDFC, and very few companies I think will be able to earn that trust. Hopefully we end up earning that trust. So yeah.
No, super. And in the early days, what were metrics or markers that you looked for to build comfort that yes, you have now achieved product market fit in the initial few cities that you have launched? And what did those markers look like in the early days?
Yeah. I think, I have been on both sides. My first startup was Flyrobe, which I was running, between 2015 to 19. Venture funded, 100-member team, 1 million website visitors, app downloads, all of the good things, right? But I dealt with what, lack of PMF looks like, and what a founder's, founder optimism and delusion. I think there's a very fine line. And I think when it comes to PMF, my biggest learning from my first startup was to be so brutally honest about your product market fit, right? So the early markers of PMF were simply put, what the customer was saying about us. If we went and met a consumer who was thinking of going solar for the last 2 years, and then in one meeting with my sales guy, the fact that he says, now I'm comfortable, now take my advance, I'm ready to switch to solar, right? And we actually went in so many of those sales meetings in the early days, right? And I don't think there's any data. It's just one-on-one talking to a consumer. And fortunately, ours is a big ticket size purchase. People are not buying behind a laptop. We're actually doing a sales consultation and closing orders with the consumers. So we actually attended a lot of sales meetings. And I mean, Neeraj had been doing solar for a long while anyways. But when we sat in those meetings, when we understood, what was giving consumers the trust to put solar on their home, how were they thinking about it, what were their apprehensions, why would they delay their decision, why would they, decide today versus say, 6 mahine baad sochunga, right? I think just all of those things, remaining extremely obsessed about product market fit, about what the consumers are saying about you. And Kunal Shah was an angel investor, the founder of Credit was an angel investor in Flyrobe. And I remember he had said one thing that when you are building a business, watch out for signals on just be careful of it's not becoming बहुत सारी muscle and जरा सी फसल, which basically means there's a lot of hard work. Muscle बहुत बन रही है, marketing हो रहा है ये, you're spending dollars, you're hiring people, you're getting funds, a lot of muscle is getting built, but there's very little revenue to show for it, right? And I think that to me in one line summarizes product market fit. If you have बहुत सारी muscle, जरा सी फसल, you don't have PMF. And if with some muscle you have some फसल, you are on the right track, right? And then you keep getting better and keep making things easier. Basically simply means how hard it is to get you your first few consumers, and how, keep iterating till you feel it's truly lubricated. There's a natural flow of revenue. Consumers want to come to you. Consumers want to recommend you to their friends and family. So that was the only marker, right? I think number one was, how many consumers we were meeting, how many of them were going solar. And number two was, once they were going solar, were they recommending their friends and family to go solar? And I mean, to get to, 1 crore of monthly revenue took us just about, I think, 4 months, right? And then we knew, that we are on to a large opportunity and there is this massive latent demand, and that, there is a PMF here. And by the way, along with PMF, I also love to emphasize on there is product market fit. There's also founder market fit, right? Both have to exist. You can be in a great category with a great business model, but you're just not the founder who can execute on what this business needs. So I think I do believe, we very objectively asked ourselves questions on both. Is there product market fit? Is there founder market fit?
Yeah. And I think I'll just add, there's another reality check that we always did for ourselves. There is a product market fit, there's a founder market fit, there is a product price market fit. I think a lot of startups, they discount their products and believe that is product market fit because customers are buying. I think they're buying at a particular price. We've never discounted our product because whatever bootstrapping DNA we had, we never built it that investors aayenge, and that's why we'll scale it further. If nobody comes, we still wanted to build this business. So I think getting the price right and the few years of experience we had in the segment, we were also able to map out what is my cost today, what is my cost 3 years out, can I survive to reach that point? If that is possible, what is at what level of service and quality will the customer pay me that those X dollars there I can survive? I think knowing that was very crucial. Not easy in most markets, but yeah, I think without that you are betting everything on a wish. So getting to that clarity, you will not reach that point of economics soon, but knowing that clarity, product price market fit is something that we chase from day one, and I think that helped us. So we are not the cheapest provider, but we are the most reliable provider out there. I think taking those calls was very important in terms of giving that PMF.
Makes sense. Is there any anecdote you guys can add?
So we were stuck in COVID in Madhya Pradesh, and we are staying at my in-laws' place for a very long time. We said we'll start the residential business out of there, right? And I always believe that before I ask anybody else to put in money, I will put in my own money. So I was trying to convince my in-laws to go solar, and not that I would have charged them, but they didn't want to ruin their roof. Kaise dikhegi and kya hoga? And I remember once we installed it, I remember the day, 14th of December, when their bill came and it was 0. For 2 days, my mom-in-law sponsor, just pampered the hell out of me. Arey, bill 0 aa raha hai aaj se na hamesha bill 0 aayega. I think that reaction of a well-to-do homeowner, like everybody, feels bad about getting electricity bill. How bad do they feel? I think that joy was a big marker for us that if we are able to deliver this, now what we need to solve for is how to convince that customer and how to finance that product. But if we can explain that delight to a customer, sir, aapka bill 0 hoga, and when they start living that reality, yes, yeah, what do I feel like if I am going to get 0 bills? No worries about how much AC do I use, TV do I use, no point of, tokna nahi hai bachcho ke beta light band kar do. I think that was a big point. I don't know if this gets edited out or not, but it was a true point which happened in terms of, yeah.
No, thanks Neeraj and Shreya. So actually changing gears, as over the past 2 years now, you have scaled from few cities to 20 plus cities now, right? And you are running a full stack model where it's not just the product that is getting delivered, but it's also last mile installation, civil work, mechanicals, plus there is after sales service, right? So many moving blocks, and at the same time you scaled to so many markets. What went on the background, right? What were certain design choices you made in terms of the org? And how do you look at talent today, right? Where do you get talent from? What kind of people do you look to partner with as you build your org up? And what have been some learnings that you can share with potential entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the one word heard and said the most in our SolarSquare office corridors is operational excellence, right? I think there are lots of moats, but execution happens to be the single best moat that exists out there, right? A Flipkart out executed everybody, then a urban company out executed, then a Spinny out executed. I think all being said and done, there is nothing no company can build without that crazy obsession with the details of execution. And I think operational excellence is one thing that we realize, that's the only way, that's going to be our reason to exist, right? To do these things replicably at scale, to deliver safe and high quality installations, to deliver a reliable service experience when they're interacting with a SolarSquare representative, to deliver reliable after sales, day after day, year on year, definitely not an easy problem to solve. This is a nuts and bolts business, and I think we were very comfortable knowing that, right? When there are conversations around, marketplace, I mean, there were some investors who asked us, this sounds like a linear business, is there, how does it gain velocity? How does it, go faster?
How can you go 10x tomorrow?
I think we were super comfortable with the fact that this business requires operational chops and operational excellence, and trying to grow too fast will only, ruin the consumer experience. So there was that comfort with how fast you want to grow, right? Everybody wants to go fast. And I do believe we'll be one of the fastest growing residential solar brands in India. But how fast is fast, right? I think building comfort with that, and Elevation's comfort with that as well, right? All our investors' comfort with that. I think that was number one. The second thing was, hiring the right org structure around it. And I think one of my big learnings after being a, two-time founder is that hiring the right people in the right place is half the battle won as an entrepreneur, right? Did we know how to scale operations, how to train people, how to run a 80-member sales team? No. As founders, are we the best at running sales? Are we the best at marketing? Are we the best at operations? We are not the best at any of them, right? But hiring the right people at the right time for the right roles, I think that's super important. And I mean, I actually learned how much science there is to org design, right? Thanks to X210X, which is now working with so many startups and entrepreneurs in India. We actually had a session with them on org design and org design choices. And how, by the way, org design also changes with scale. For 1.5 years, SolarSquare was in one market, Madhya Pradesh, right? We were very comfortable saying we had raised our seed round. Even after 1.5 years of raising our seed round, we were just operating in Madhya Pradesh. And we were comfortable with that choice, that I will keep perfecting it, I will learn it, I will hire my org, and then I will go into, Bangalore, and then I will go into a Pune and Lucknow and Hyderabad, right? So knowing the foundations that you have to build before you start to scale, having comfort with that, having comfort with speed, hiring right people who know the job better than you. I think those are all the things that we did. And I think org design evolves over time, just like your business model, just like your go-to market. And that was a big learning, by the way, for me, that, org design is not a constant. It's not static. You can do something for 2-3 years and it doesn't serve you right after that. You change your org design for your scale, for how strong your tech and processes are. Every company starts people dependent, then goes process dependent, then goes tech dependent, right? So, the org structure also can change with time. And I think those are some of the learnings I've had.
Nothing else to it. I think this is something that we are going through right now. I think how do companies like Unilever keep scaling. I think it is their people. I think it is the science. I think org design is not on paper, but are you hiring the right sort of people? Are you grooming them? Do you give them the psychological safety to make mistakes? Very easy to say it, but when there is pressure on sales, there is pressure from investors. You want to scale more because the market is expecting, competition is doing something else. It is those people. It is have you put those structures in place that people can take decisions, they can go wrong? What are the check mechanisms? Like most places where young founders will go wrong is not having governing mechanisms in place. That if you invest, be it your accounting function, be it your quality audit functions, do you have those things in place? Are you like, if you are a physically spread out business in multiple cities and states, there will be subcultures. I didn't know this word subcultures. It is only when you experience that and somebody tells you, there's a subculture problem and this is how you go about solving it. I think just constantly learning and knowing that there are so many blind sides to building a business. As a founder, I don't think you are expected to know everything. You are expected to quickly realize what you don't know and start filling those gaps. Don't do it yourself. I think Manish, you also have told me that Neeraj, aapka kaam hai allocate capital and hire great people. Right? I think with every passing day, it realizes this is something that I should rather focus on than doing things ourselves. It is so easy, right? You are closest to the idea, closest to the vision. You want to do things yourself to set the standard. I think there comes a time when you have to take that step back.
Yeah.
So, how did you go about deciding, to back SolarSquare, Manish?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So actually, for us, again, we have been actively looking to back entrepreneurs who are battling the problem of climate change today. And in this entire theme, I believe energy transition, especially powered by EVs and solars, are two major areas where we were actively looking for businesses to back. Within solar, actually, it took us some time to build comfort that this is the right time and this is a deep market, because 2 years back, this was not so obvious as it is today. Residential solar was a story that was in its nascency. It was just starting up. And to entrepreneurs, it is much more evident who are close to the root of the problem. But for us, at least, it was a journey building comfort that this is a deep enough market. I think the biggest signal for me that it was a deep market was when I spoke to a customer in Bhopal. This was a customer who had a family of 4, middle income, didn't have a car, but today actually went solar. So rather than purchasing a vehicle which would deliver comfort to the entire family, the customer was actively deciding to go solar, and due to the value proposition of the end asset, right? And that was the signal for me that yes, there is a grounds up latent need, and solar is the way to go for the future of our country as we look to become energy independent. Overall, then we did a bunch of our math and estimates, and eventually even today, as we think about this market, those numbers only get refined further. But today we realize that this is a $50 billion opportunity, and this is the opportunity of a lifetime, and over the next few decades we'll see this opportunity getting realized. And as I was mentioning earlier, this is one of the largest asset purchases for an end user, right? And tomorrow if you go to buy a car, as we had seen in the case of used car markets, you are not comfortable depending on unorganized dealers, right? Because it's a large purchase, it's a long-term asset, and there was no company out there which was delivering this full stack promise to the end consumer, for whom this is the first time that this consumer is even thinking about this asset. So that pain point and gap was very evident, and it came out through our user conversations, right? And that user speak itself made us realize that yes, this gap exists and full stack is the right way to solve it. And again, full stack is not an easy answer, but the fact that you had taken a not easy answer, a not easy business model, and gone ahead and executed it and showed evidence made us more comfortable about partnering with SolarSquare. I think the third marker for us that this model is working was a third set of markers that this model was working were a few. One is that in the markets that SolarSquare was operating in the early days, right? These were 3-4 cities in MP at that point of time. We were already the market share leaders, right? We owned 30 to 35% of those cities at that nascent scale. We continue to do that. And in fact, a lot of customers that we spoke to, as you said earlier, went solar because SolarSquare existed, not because they were looking to go solar and they came to SolarSquare, right? So SolarSquare was actually creating the market at that point of time. So that was one marker. Second, if I look at our conversion funnels, and that's a metric that I look at very closely to understand, is it a push sale or is it a pull sale? I was shocked to see conversion metrics north of 30%. The third metric for me was referrals. It is unheard of that referrals is such a large revenue driver at such a nascent scale, because even to get to meaningful scale of referrals, you would expect the company would need to do a gung-ho marketing campaign, would need to have a base of customers which would in turn refer. With a very small base of customers itself, we were getting very high referrals, right? And that was the third marker for me that yes, this model works. And then fundamentally, actually, it is both of you, right? I think very rarely do you find a mission-driven team that is solving a really deep problem and is getting down to the nuts and bolts to deliver phenomenal customer value. And whenever you get that chance, you go ahead and partner, right? So for us, a combination of all these factors actually helped us cross the line, and there has been no looking back since we partner in 22. And how did you guys actually decide to join us in this journey, right? I'm sure around that time you had multiple funds seeking to partner with, and what went behind choosing to partner with Elevation?
Right. So Manish, across my 2 ventures, I've partnered with 6 or 7 venture capital funds. I've raised, I'm now maybe 5-6 rounds of funding across my two startups. And so I think I was, I had some experience and maturity on what to look for in an investment partner. Honestly, I mean, as young entrepreneurs, when capital comes, you take it, right? There's not always a lot of choice. But if there is choice, and then comes the question of what are the trade-offs you're making. I think the understanding of our business and the understanding of the alignment of values, right? That customer service first, growth second. This is a design choice that we were wanting to make. And you were comfortable with that design choice. In fact, you asked us to double down on that design choice and said, let's go slow few more months, right? Before we start to grow. So build the foundation first, get customer service right first, then grow. I think this was one strong value system alignment. 2 important value system alignment was just, we never wanted to operate under artificial investor pressure, under, chasing, the wrong metrics, especially because in our business, Manish, you grow fast, you do wrong by the consumer. It'll be a few years before that bubbles out, right? So taking short-term calls is very, very easy. And Neeraj had been doing this, now he's 10 years into solar. I am 4 years into doing this. We are both entrepreneurs for now close to a decade, right? We were very comfortable in making long-term choices, right? And it would be very easy to make short-term optimizations and short-term choices that would actually all look good for a few years, right? You do poor quality installations, you don't do after sales, angry customers will realize it 2 years later, right? You could make great margins today, but we wanted to make those long-term choices, and we wanted an investor who'd be comfortable with, also want to make the same choices, right? There is this thing that not many entrepreneurs realize, that oftentimes customer interest and investor interest can be misaligned, right? And that is a worst thing for your business, for you, for your consumers, for your team, right? And I think we were very comfortable with the fact that with Elevation, customer interest and investor interest, they'll never be, in contradiction of each other. To us, that was very comforting. We wanted to build for the long run, and I've also, I think, said this in the past that as an entrepreneur, know the difference between a trader and an investor. There are many traders out there, right? Who are looking for their 5-year exit, who are looking for that next valuation, next round. I never got that feeling from Elevation, truly, right? I wanted an investor who would not have blood pressure and give blood pressure with quarterly numbers. It is a 10-year business building. It's a many decade business building journey for us, at least a decade long relationship with your early investors. A quarter doesn't matter. And for having investors whose conviction doesn't shake, right? Who are not like traders looking for, maximizing the next round valuation. That was very important to us. And I think as a second time founder, I even had that akal, not as a first time founder, I didn't. Most of us don't, right? But I think that value alignment, design choice alignment, I think that mattered a lot to us. And I'm not saying this because I'm on the Elevation podcast, but also that I do believe you guys are very different as investors. I think you guys are a lot more hands-on in terms of helping the business. We've hired so many people through your team, we've called you guys in when shit hits the ceiling, right? And very comfortably called you guys when shit hits the ceiling. I think it's so important to have that authentic relationship with your investor. It allows you to focus on the right things. So that was my reason.
I think so. What we learned from Shreya's first experience was don't sell to the highest bidder. We didn't do that. Just very candidly saying, we took a lesser valuation from you guys. But what I said earlier also that I candidly asked that valuation doesn't matter to me as much. All this is paper money to begin with. But if we have a bad quarter, how are you going to respond? And what is the growth curve that you are signing up for? I think asking that very candidly, knowing that your investors, your team members are on the same value system. And I think I shared earlier that you guys raised the bar for customer delight and NPS for us, and that was very clear to Shreya and I to begin with. That Elevation, again, not because we're on the podcast, but you guys backed Spinny, you guys backed us, Swiggy and Urban Club. We are consumers of these companies and we know the delight they give. The founders and the teams build those companies, but as investors, for you guys to back those design choices, that at that particular point, what did an Abhiraj Singh or a Neeraj Singh or Sri Harsha do when they had tough choices in front of them? Do they go for scale because a Zomato is scaling up, or stick to your market, great customer experience, get good economics and then scale? I think those design choices requires a lot of conviction, because there is a lot of noise in a founder's head and also in an investor's head. People who are making their own, not following the herd and taking their own calls is something that we really, really appreciate and value. And that is what we actually seek out of a relationship also. In those tough moments, I don't know, right? I can read 10 books, talk to 10 other founders. Nobody knows the context of my business apart from us and people who engage with us deeply. So yeah, I think that is something I really look forward to.
No, great. Thank you for those kind words.
You're paying us for it.
But yeah, changing gears would be helpful to understand how do you think about SolarSquare over the next 2 years, over next 5 years? What's the vision and what is it that we are gunning for?
Yeah, I think, residential solar was, we always knew the market would inflect, and we were, not too early, we were not too late. I believe we timed the entry into the market right, and we knew that the market will start to inflect, and critical consumer awareness levels will reach, and har ghar solar hoga. A person will buy a new home, solar will be, it'll be like fridge lena hai, solar to lena hai, right? I believe it will be ubiquitous, like an air conditioner, Wi-Fi router, refrigerator, all of those things. So I think the category is, evolving, and we are evolving with the category. This is the first time in the history that you are able to create a consumer brand around energy. Energy has always been the game of Adani's and Ambani's and government, right? Like coal power plant, thermal power plant, hydroelectric power plants. But now energy, electricity is personal, it's private. And we are creating a consumer brand. So I think very stoked to have, this opportunity to create a consumer brand in energy. I think Roti Kapda Makan, next comes energy now. Number one. Number two, I think, it's our stated vision, mission statement that we want to accelerate the mass adoption of residential solar. I think we've been true to it, and we want to continue to be true to it. I think we have many cities where, SolarSquare launches operations. The market size looks different before and after SolarSquare, right? Bangalore is an example, Pune is an example, Bhopal, Indore. These are all examples of where the market size was really small. And then we came in and, we have 30-40% market share, but the market size is also looking bigger, right? That's truly helping the energy transition. That's truly helping, India's, not India, but the planet. When it, with all humility, I say it, that's truly helping the energy transition. And I think we want to remain number one, very true to that mission. It's tough to remain true to your mission every day, every year, decade after decade. I hope we do that. I think our ambition is to help, at least 1 million homes switch to solar. If we do that, we'll have played a meaningful role in reducing India's carbon footprint. We'll be a meaningful climate tech company globally. And we would have, truly made that little dent in the universe when it comes to, preventing carbon emissions and climate change. 1 million homes, big responsibility ahead. And also, I don't think we'll restrict ourselves to solar alone. I think we want to become a broader home energy brand. There's solar, for energy independence. People will want batteries. People will buy EVs. They don't want to charge their EV with coal-based electricity. It's not really clean. Instead of petrol, you use coal-based electricity. So we want to get into EV chargers that are powered by solar. We want to get into smart home, solutions, energy monitoring, all of that. And hopefully, if we execute right, if we have enough consumer love, it allows us to cross-sell and become a broader home energy ecosystem, not just a solar company.
Thanks, Shreya. And any last messages to our viewers?
I think this battle for climate change needs a lot of people to put their hands up. Really looking forward to individuals out there who would love to work with us, to collaborate with us. So please do reach out and please join us in the climate revolution.
Awesome. Thank you, Shreya and Neeraj, for taking out time. And this was a very insightful discussion. I'm sure budding entrepreneurs who are looking at solving problems in climate change would have learnt a lot from your experience. If you are an entrepreneur building in climate change, we would love to hear you out and partner with you. Please feel free to reach out to us and look forward to the next podcast.